Africa is often introduced through spectacle, vast grasslands moving under the wind, golden light stretching across the savanna, the silhouettes of lions walking in formation, leopards melting into shadows, cheetahs cutting the air with impossible speed. These images define how we think about African predators. Visible, but this land is not ruled only by what the eye can follow. Beneath the grass, within termite mounds, under fallen logs and cracked earth, another lineage has shaped Africa for millions of years. A lineage that does not chase, that does not roar, that does not announce its presence. Snakes do not compete for attention in Africa. They do not need to. They have mastered something far more effective than visibility. They have mastered silence. In this landscape, big cats and snakes share the same ground, the same prey networks, the same evolutionary pressures. Yet they rarely collide. They do not wage constant war. They do not hunt one another as rivals. Instead, they exist in parallel, occupying different layers of the same reality. Africa is not a battlefield of predators. It is a carefully balanced system of timing, energy, and restraint. Here, survival is not about who is stronger. It is about who moves at the right moment. The savanna, the woodland, the wetlands, and forest edges are filled with invisible boundaries that do not appear on maps. Boundaries of temperature, of time. Big cats dominate the visible hours. Snakes govern the unseen ones. Each predator evolved not to conquer the other, but to avoid unnecessary cost. Because in Africa, conflict is expensive. Injury means death. Wasted energy means starvation. Evolution did not reward aggression between apex predators. It rewarded precision. This documentary is not about confrontation. It is about coexistence. About how multiple apex predators learn to share the same land without collapsing the system that sustains them. It is about how dominance can be quiet, how power can be still. How the most successful hunters are often the ones you never see. To understand Africa, we must stop asking who is stronger. We must ask a more important question. How do so many perfect predators live side by side without destroying each other? And why does the land remain balanced because of it? Before understanding the predators, Africa itself must be understood. This continent is not a single stage where animals compete for space. It is a mosaic of overlapping systems, layered both horizontally and vertically. Savannas stretch across vast plains, interrupted by woodlands, seasonal rivers, floodplains, rocky outcrops, termite mounds, and forest edges that blur into dense green walls. Each of these environments offers different temperatures, different shelter, different risks, and different opportunities. Africa supports one of the highest predator densities on Earth, not because it encourages conflict, but because it allows partition. Life here is organized in layers. The ground is not empty space. It is a network of burrows, roots, cracks, and tunnels. The grass layer creates visual barriers and ambush corridors. Trees introduce a vertical dimension where shade, escape, and concealment coexist. Above all of this, heat and light move across the land in predictable cycles, creating windows of activity that shift hour by hour. Predators do not rule territory in Africa. They rule moments. A lion dominates at dusk when light fades and large herbivores move. A leopard controls the night when vision sharpens and silence expands. A cheetah thrives in the early morning when speed matters more than strength. Snakes operate in a different dimension entirely. They do not compete for open ground. They occupy edges, cover, thermal gradients, and hidden paths that remain invisible to most large predators. Africa's landscapes are designed to support specialization, not domination. Space here is not contested aggressively. It is partitioned through behavior. A predator that ignores this system does not survive. High predator density does not mean constant encounters. It means precise separation through time, energy, and awareness. In this environment, visibility is not power. Control of exposure is. Big cats are shaped by the need to move, to see, to react. Snakes are shaped by the need to remain unseen, to wait, to conserve. The land offers both strategies equally, but never at the same moment. Heat defines everything. As temperatures rise, mammals reduce activity to avoid overheating. As temperatures fall, reptiles gain advantage through thermal balance and stillness. Shade becomes a resource. Burrows become highways. Termite mounds become observation towers for some, shelters for others. Africa does not force predators into collision. It filters them into niches that barely touch. Even prey species participate in this structure. Small mammals adjust movement patterns in response to snakes. Large herbivores alter routes in response to cats. These adjustments ripple across the landscape, shaping where predators succeed without ever meeting. This is why Africa can support lions, leopards, cheetahs, hyenas, venomous snakes, and massive constrictors within the same ecosystems. The land is not crowded, it is orchestrated. The predators that fail to read this orchestration disappear from the system. Those that master it become legends. In this mosaic, coexistence is not accidental. It is the result of millions of years of evolutionary negotiation between landscape, climate, prey, and risk. Africa did not create rivals. It created parallel solutions to the same problem: how to hunt efficiently without being seen. How to survive without wasting energy. How to exist without inviting conflict. In this land, the most successful predator is not the one that claims space loudly, but the one that understands when to move, where to wait, and when to remain invisible. Big cats represent Africa's most visible expression of predatory power. Their dominance is written in muscle, posture, and movement. They do not hide their presence from the landscape. They shape it through motion. Lions, leopards, and cheetahs occupy different solutions to the same evolutionary challenge. Not by competing directly, but by refining how power is displayed and when it is used. Lions embody cooperative dominance. Their strength is not individual speed or stealth, but presence multiplied through numbers. A pride controls space by being seen. By standing together, by moving as a unit that reshapes prey behavior before a chase even begins. Lions hunt primarily during low light, when heat dissipates and vision remains effective. Their success depends on timing, coordination, and intimidation as much as physical force. Energy expenditure is high, but shared across the group. Risk is distributed. Visibility becomes a tool rather than a weakness. Leopards, by contrast, refine power into discretion. They do not dominate open ground, they dominate edges, forest margins, riverbanks, rocky outcrops, trees. Their bodies are built for silence and precision. Muscles coil without excess mass. Vision adapts to darkness. Movement becomes measured, calculated, nearly invisible. Leopards reduce conflict not by confronting rivals, but by avoiding them. They hunt alone. They carry prey into trees to escape competitors. They control vertical space where others cannot follow. Their dominance is not about force, but about access. Cheetahs take a different path entirely. They abandon strength in exchange for speed. Their bodies are light. Their bones are thin. Their muscles are optimized for acceleration rather than endurance. Cheetahs rule short windows of opportunity when prey is exposed and terrain allows straight-line pursuit. They do not fight. They do not defend kills aggressively. They succeed by arriving first and leaving quickly. This strategy limits their dominance, but preserves survival. Each of these cats relies on vision as a primary sense. Eyes forward. Depth perception acute. Movement analyzed constantly. Their hunting logic depends on momentum. Once a chase begins, energy burns rapidly. Failure carries cost. Injury is catastrophic. This is why big cats do not waste movement. They rest for long hours. They observe, they wait. Power is expressed briefly, not continuously. Big cats dominate movement, not permanence. They control moments of action, not the landscape itself. When they move, the system responds. Prey, scatter. Other predators pause. But when they rest, the land reclaims silence. Their bodies reflect this reality. High muscle mass requires constant energy management. Heat dissipation limits activity windows. Vision fails in dense cover or total darkness. Big cats are supreme within their chosen moments, but vulnerable outside them. This is why their dominance is always conditional, always temporary. They are not rulers of the land in all hours. They are rulers of specific intervals when conditions align perfectly. This is also why unnecessary conflict is avoided. A fight with another apex predator risks injury that cannot be afforded. Evolution favored restraint. Cats assess risk continuously. They retreat when uncertainty rises. They abandon kills when danger outweighs reward. What appears as fear is actually precision. In Africa, power is not proven through constant confrontation. It is proven through survival over time. Big cats evolved to read the landscape like a shifting equation. Light plus temperature plus prey movement equals opportunity. Remove one variable, and power disappears. This reliance on visible dominance creates an important balance. It leaves space for other predators to operate differently. While cats rule motion and momentum, they leave untouched the hidden corridors beneath grass, the thermal shadows of rocks, the silent networks of cover that never require pursuit. Africa does not reward a single definition of strength. It rewards those who master their specific domain and withdraw when it no longer belongs to them. Big cats are unmatched in visible power, but visibility itself carries limits. And in those limits, another kind of predator thrives. If big cats represent Africa's visible force, snakes represent its hidden intelligence. They are not shaped by pursuit or dominance through movement. They are shaped by patience, efficiency, and inevitability. African snakes evolved to operate where visibility fails and where energy must be preserved at all costs. Their power is not expressed through speed or cooperation, but through precision and restraint. Puff adders, mambas, cobras, and rock pythons do not rule territory in the way mammals do. They rule conditions, temperature, cover, opportunity. A snake does not need to move often to succeed. It needs to move correctly once. Energy conservation defines everything. Unlike big cats, snakes do not burn calories simply by existing. Their metabolism allows long periods of stillness without penalty. Muscles remain ready while the body rests. This gives snakes access to time as a weapon. Where mammals must hunt frequently, snakes can wait. Ambush is not a tactic. It is a lifestyle. Puff adders exemplify this strategy. Their bodies blend into leaf litter and dry grass so completely that movement becomes unnecessary. Prey does not see danger. It steps into it. Venom delivers immediate physiological control, shutting down systems with chemical precision. There is no chase, no struggle, only a brief calculation performed at the cellular level. Mambas represent a different solution. Their bodies are built for speed, but speed used sparingly. They move decisively when necessary, retreating as quickly as they appear. Their venom targets the nervous system, creating efficiency measured in seconds. Mambas do not seek confrontation. They seek resolution. Cobras combine awareness with threat management. Their raised posture and expanded hood are not aggression displays. They are communication tools designed to prevent conflict. Venom is reserved for when distance fails. Rock pythons abandon venom entirely. Their strength lies in control rather than chemistry. They use muscle not explosively, but gradually. Pressure applied with precision. Each contraction measured. Energy spent only where it produces outcome. What unites these snakes is not danger, but design. Minimal movement. Maximum effect. Snakes are not reactive predators. They are predictive. They do not chase prey behavior. They anticipate it. Heat gradients guide them. Vibrations inform them. Chemical cues shape their decisions. Their sensory world operates differently from that of mammals. Vision is secondary. Touch and chemistry dominate. This allows snakes to function in spaces that big cats rarely access. Under rocks, inside burrows, along narrow edges, beneath vegetation too dense for pursuit. Snakes are not competitors to cats because their hunting logic does not overlap significantly. Where cats rely on momentum, snakes rely on inevitability. Where cats expend energy rapidly, snakes preserve it almost entirely. Where cats must retreat when conditions fail, snakes simply remain still. This makes snakes exceptionally resilient to environmental fluctuation. Droughts, prey, scarcity, temperature shifts, all can be endured through inactivity. This is not weakness, it is optimization. Africa shaped snakes into architects of silence because silence carries survival advantage. A predator that is not seen is not challenged. A predator that does not move does not provoke response. This design minimizes conflict not only with prey, but with other predators. Big cats rarely notice snakes unless proximity becomes unavoidable, and snakes rarely engage large mammals unless escape routes disappear. Venom and constriction are tools of last resort, not dominance. This mutual avoidance is not coincidence. It is evolution's solution to coexistence. Snakes occupy Africa's invisible corridors. They regulate populations that cats cannot efficiently control. Rodents, small mammals, ground-nesting species. In doing so, they stabilize the system quietly, without spectacle. Their influence is profound precisely because it is unseen. Africa's balance depends not on constant motion, but on stillness correctly placed. And no predator embodies this principle more completely than the snake. Big cats and snakes live on the same African soil, yet they rarely experience the land in the same way. What appears to be a shared territory is, in practice, divided into invisible layers shaped by time, temperature, movement, and perception. These layers act as natural buffers that reduce overlap and prevent conflict. Africa is not a flat arena where predators collide. It is a multi-dimensional system where each species accesses only a portion of reality. For big cats, space is defined by visibility and mobility. Open ground, clear paths, edges of vegetation, and elevated points matter because they allow detection, pursuit, and control of momentum. For snakes, space is defined by contact and concealment. Grass density, soil temperature, crevices, burrows, and debris create a continuous network of usable pathways hidden from larger animals. Time functions as the first major separator. Big cats synchronize their activity with prey movement and light conditions. Dawn and dusk offer optimal contrast and manageable heat. Night grants leopards visual advantage. Snakes, however, synchronize with thermal opportunity rather than light. A surface that retains heat after sunset or cools slowly at sunrise becomes more important than visibility. These cycles overlap briefly, but rarely align perfectly. When they do, both predators adjust behavior to reduce risk. Temperature acts as the second separator. Snakes depend on external heat to regulate physiology. They exploit microclimates that mammals largely ignore. Sun-warmed rocks, compacted soil, fallen logs, and road edges become strategic assets. Big cats, burdened by muscle mass and heat generation, avoid these microhabitats during peak temperature. They seek shade, airflow, and elevation instead. Shelter forms the third separator. What offers protection to one predator may pose danger to the other. A narrow burrow is safety for a snake and a trap for a cat. A dense thicket is concealment for a snake and visual obstruction for a cat. These differences reduce direct competition for refuge. On rare occasions when shelter overlap occurs, it triggers caution rather than aggression. Both predators evolve to recognize asymmetric risk. A snake understands that striking a large mammal invites retaliation. A cat understands that curiosity can result in envenomation. The cost-benefit calculation favors disengagement. This separation extends into movement patterns. Cats patrol routes. Snakes remain anchored to points. Cats follow herds and trails. Snakes follow gradients and stillness. Even when occupying the same geographic coordinates, they are functionally in different worlds. Prey behavior reinforces this division. Small mammals alter burrow usage and surface timing in response to snakes. Large herbivores alter grouping and vigilance in response to cats. These prey-driven adjustments ripple through the ecosystem, shaping predator success indirectly. A snake benefits from rodents displaced by cat activity. A cat benefits from prey movement constrained by snake presence. This indirect interaction strengthens coexistence rather than undermining it. Africa's predators do not compete for dominance over space. They negotiate access through specialization. Each predator occupies a role defined not by exclusion, but by limitation. The land remains stable because no single strategy attempts to dominate every layer. Evolution favored restraint over expansion. In Africa, survival depends on understanding which world you belong to and which ones you must avoid. This layered coexistence explains why encounters between big cats and snakes are statistically rare, despite constant proximity. They are present within the same ecosystems, but their perceptual maps barely intersect. A lion crossing a floodplain reads movement at a distance. A snake within that same floodplain reads vibration and heat at close range. Each predator responds to signals the other often does not generate. When proximity narrows, behavior shifts immediately toward caution. Evolution selected for individuals that recognized warning cues early. Cats developed learned avoidance of dense ground cover during peak snake activity. They step deliberately, test resting sites, and avoid lying down where visibility is compromised. Snakes respond to pressure waves and chemical cues by freezing or retreating into cover. Stillness becomes defense. Escalation occurs only when distance collapses unexpectedly. Even then, outcomes are costly and unpredictable. Africa does not reward such encounters, so they remain evolutionary outliers rather than norms. This system is not fragile. It is robust because it relies on redundancy and restraint. If one predator declines, the other does not simply replace it. Each regulates different components of the ecosystem. Snakes exert control over small mammals and ground-level prey. Big cats regulate large herbivores and mid-sized mammals. Removing one destabilizes the system, increasing pressure on the other and on prey populations. This interdependence operates quietly, without direct interaction. It is easy to mistake coexistence for indifference. In reality, it is constant awareness without engagement. Each predator evolves in the presence of the other, shaping behavior through absence rather than confrontation. The land itself enforces these boundaries. Heat shifts, vegetation grows and recedes. Floods rearrange cover. Fire resets visibility. These changes constantly redraw the invisible map that predators follow. Flexibility becomes survival. A cat that ignores thermal limits overheats. A snake that ignores exposure becomes vulnerable. The most successful predators are those that read these signals accurately and adjust without force. This is why Africa supports so many apex predators within the same regions. The system does not collapse under competition because competition is filtered out at the behavioral level. Predators that push beyond their domain incur costs they cannot afford. Those that remain within their evolutionary design persist. Shared territory does not mean shared rules. Each predator operates under a different logic imposed by physiology and environment. Africa's balance emerges from these parallel logics functioning side by side. The land does not demand dominance. It demands understanding. In this shared territory of different worlds, survival belongs to those who recognize where they are powerful and where they must remain invisible. When the paths of big cats and snakes intersect in Africa, the moment is rarely dramatic. There is no prolonged standoff, no ritualized dominance display, no clear victor. Instead, there is pause, assessment, adjustment. These encounters are governed not by aggression, but by information processing. A lion approaching a resting site reads scent, ground disturbance, and unfamiliar stillness before committing weight. A leopard moving through dense grass slows its pace, lifting paws carefully, avoiding blind placement. These behaviors are learned and reinforced over time. They reflect an understanding that some risks do not justify investigation. Snakes exhibit parallel logic. A snake encountering vibration patterns associated with large mammals does not advance. It stops. It reduces movement to near zero. Stillness becomes camouflage. Distance becomes safety. These responses are not reactions to fear, but to probability. Escalation only occurs when probability collapses into immediacy, when distance disappears too quickly, when escape routes are blocked, when surprise replaces awareness. Even then, outcomes are uncertain and costly. Venom is not a declaration of dominance. It is a last resort for space recovery. Muscle power is not assertion. It is defense against unavoidable contact. Nature does not reward these moments, so they remain rare. Many observed intersections occur indirectly. Snakes are often found near large kills, not because they challenge cats, but because kills alter local ecology. Carcasses attract scavengers. Scavengers attract rodents. Rodents attract snakes. The snake responds to opportunity created by the system, not to the predator that initiated it. Cats, aware of this chain, modify behavior around kills. They scan ground more frequently. They reposition carcasses. They abandon sites when uncertainty rises. What appears to humans as caution is, in reality, efficiency. Risk that cannot be quantified is avoided. These interactions reveal an important truth. Africa's apex predators are not defined by confrontation. They are defined by restraint. Intelligence in this system is the ability to disengage, to recognize when power should remain unused. This intelligence is shaped by consequence. A cat injured by a snake faces infection, reduced mobility, and starvation. A snake injured by a cat faces exposure and predation. Neither outcome supports survival. The ecosystem filters out individuals that escalate unnecessarily. Over generations, behavior stabilizes into avoidance. Silence replaces spectacle. Distance replaces dominance. The land functions because these choices are repeated millions of times without incident. Observing these moments without imposing narrative reveals a deeper pattern. Africa's predators are constantly interacting, but most of those interactions are negative space. Decisions not to approach, movements not taken, paths quietly altered. These invisible choices shape the ecosystem more than rare confrontations ever could. A leopard detours around a basking site. A snake delays movement until pressure passes. A lion selects a different resting area. Each decision preserves energy and reduces risk. Over time, these micro-adjustments accumulate into stable coexistence. This stability is not passive. It requires continuous assessment. Predators read the land through different senses, yet arrive at similar conclusions. Avoid unnecessary uncertainty. Preserve capability for when it matters. The land itself reinforces this logic. Vegetation shifts. Fire opens space and later closes it. Floods rearrange pathways. These changes constantly create new intersections and dissolve old ones. Predators that survive are those that adapt without force. This is why dramatic footage of apex predator conflict is misleading. It captures exceptions, not rules. Africa is sustained by what does not happen. The absence of constant conflict is not a lack of tension. It is the result of tension resolved silently. Each predator evolves alongside others, shaping behavior through presence rather than confrontation. Big cats and snakes do not ignore one another. They account for one another. They adjust. They remember. This mutual awareness stabilizes the system. When humans remove one predator from this equation, the balance shifts. Rodent populations rise. Disease spreads. Herbivore pressure increases. The quiet work of avoidance and regulation collapses. The moments of intersection teach a critical lesson. Power in nature is not proven through dominance displays. It is proven through longevity, through the ability to persist without injury, through the wisdom to disengage. Africa's predators are masters not because they fight often, but because they fight rarely. Their restraint is not weakness, it is design. And within these silent intersections, the true architecture of Africa's balance is revealed. When viewed through the lens of evolution, big cats and snakes are not opposing forces but parallel answers to the same biological question. How does a predator survive in a land where energy is precious, injury is fatal, and opportunity appears only in narrow windows? Africa did not refine one dominant blueprint. It refined multiple perfect solutions, each optimized for a different set of constraints. Big cats represent the solution of controlled force. Their bodies are engines of muscle and coordination designed to convert brief bursts of energy into decisive outcomes. Every aspect of their anatomy reflects this purpose. Forward-facing eyes deliver depth, perception critical for pursuit. Retractable claws preserve sharpness until the exact moment force is required. Muscles are dense, powerful, and fast-twitch, capable of explosive acceleration. But this design comes with cost. Muscle demands oxygen. Oxygen demands movement. Movement demands food. Big cats must constantly balance hunger against injury risk. This pressure-shaped intelligence, rooted in timing. Cats do not hunt continuously. They select moments when variables align. Light angle, wind direction. Prey isolation, group positioning. A hunt succeeds not through brute force alone, but through alignment of conditions. Failure is accepted and abandoned quickly. Persistence without advantage wastes energy. Snakes evolved along an entirely different path. Their design removes urgency from survival. Elongated bodies distribute muscle along the entire length, allowing movement without limbs and enabling stillness without tension. Their metabolism operates at a fraction of a mammal's demand. Energy can be stored and conserved for weeks or months. Sensory systems prioritize proximity over distance. Chemical cues replace vision. Vibration replaces sound. This allows snakes to operate where visibility is irrelevant. Venom adds another layer of efficiency. Instead of overpowering prey physically, snakes interrupt biological systems chemically. The result is control achieved with minimal exertion. Constrictors replace chemistry with physics, applying pressure precisely where it disrupts circulation and respiration. In both cases, the outcome is achieved without prolonged struggle. These two designs appear radically different, yet they converge on the same evolutionary principles: precision, efficiency, risk minimization. Neither predator is built for prolonged conflict. Neither is optimized for endurance combat. Both succeed by acting briefly and withdrawing completely. Evolution did not create competitors locked in perpetual struggle. It created specialists refined to avoid unnecessary overlap. The success of these designs is measured not by dominance displays, but by persistence across millions of years. Africa's ecosystems remain stable because these predators do not attempt to exceed their design. Cats do not attempt to hunt like snakes. Snakes do not attempt to chase like cats. Each solution operates within its constraints and excels because of them. Comparing these predators reveals shared traits beneath surface differences. Both cats and snakes exhibit extreme energy efficiency relative to their size and role. Both minimize exposure during vulnerable states. Cats rest for long hours between hunts. Snakes remain motionless for extended periods. Both rely on precision rather than repetition. A successful action is decisive and final. A failed action is abandoned without escalation. This behavioral discipline is the hallmark of apex design. Evolution punishes excess. Excess movement, excess aggression, excess risk. The nervous systems of both predators reflect this discipline. Decision-making favors caution over impulse. Movement is delayed until probability favors success. These traits are not learned behaviors alone. They are encoded responses shaped by selection pressure. Individuals that misjudged risk were removed from the system. Over time, what remains is restraint refined into instinct. This convergence explains why coexistence is stable. Two perfect solutions can exist side by side because neither seeks to invalidate the other. Their domains intersect only at the margins. Even their influence on the ecosystem complements rather than competes. Big cats regulate populations that move and graze. Snakes regulate populations that hide and reproduce quickly. Together, they maintain balance across scales. Remove one, and the system overpopulation, resource depletion, disease. Africa's predators are not redundant. They are interlocking components of a larger design. This design does not require awareness or intention. It emerges from countless successful outcomes repeated across generations. What humans perceive as hierarchy is, in reality, architecture. Layers of control distributed across time and space. Big cats and snakes represent two endpoints of predatory evolution. One expresses power through motion and coordination. The other expresses power through stillness and inevitability. Both are equally successful. Both are equally constrained. Both survive because they understand when not to act. Africa did not create a single apex. It created a system where multiple apex predators coexist by mastering different dimensions of the same land. This is the elegance of evolution. Not conflict, but fit. Not domination, but design. Two perfect solutions operating side by side, each invisible to the other until the moment they must be aware. The stability of Africa's ecosystems does not come from visible dominance. It comes from invisible regulation. While big cats command attention through movement and spectacle, much of the continent's balance is maintained quietly, beyond what most observers notice. Snakes operate at this hidden level, shaping population dynamics long before imbalance becomes visible. Small mammals reproduce rapidly. Left unchecked, they overwhelm vegetation, spread disease, and destabilize food networks. Snakes regulate these populations continuously and efficiently. A single ambush removes individuals that would otherwise reproduce unchecked. This pressure operates without noise, without chase, without disruption. Big cats perform a complementary function at a different scale. They regulate large herbivores whose grazing patterns determine the structure of entire landscapes. When herbivore numbers rise too high, grasslands degrade, soil erodes, and water systems shift. By selectively removing individuals, cats maintain mobility within herds and prevent overuse of critical areas. These two regulatory forces operate independently, yet their effects interlock. Remove snakes, and rodent populations surge. Disease spreads, vegetation suffers, prey distribution shifts, forcing herbivores into new patterns that increase pressure on land already stressed. Remove big cats, and herbivore populations expand uncontrollably. Grasslands convert to degraded terrain. Tree regeneration fails. Fire behavior intensifies. In both cases, the absence of one predator increases strain on the other. Snakes cannot compensate for the loss of cats. Cats cannot compensate for the loss of snakes. Each controls a domain the other cannot access efficiently. This is why Africa's balance depends on multiple apex predators rather than a single dominant force. Power distributed across layers creates resilience. Power concentrated in one strategy creates fragility. The illusion that dominance must be visible leads to misunderstanding. Humans tend to measure influence by size, speed, and spectacle. Nature measures influence by effect over time. Snakes exert control without announcement. Big cats exert control without permanence. Together, they prevent runaway feedback loops that would otherwise collapse the system. This balance is not static. It shifts with seasons, rainfall, fire, and human pressure. Yet it persists because its foundations are flexible. Predators respond to change by adjusting behavior rather than escalating conflict. This adaptability preserves regulation even as conditions fluctuate. Africa's invisible power is not held by a single ruler. It is distributed across countless interactions that never escalate into confrontation. The land remains productive because regulation occurs before crisis emerges. This is the quiet genius of the system. Understanding this balance reframes how we define strength in nature. Strength is not constant control. It is the ability to maintain function under pressure. Snakes and big cats embody this principle differently, yet achieve the same outcome. Their combined presence stabilizes food webs, moderates population swings, and maintains habitat diversity. This stabilization benefits every species, including humans, even when it goes unnoticed. When invisible regulation fails, consequences surface quickly. Rodent outbreaks devastate crops. Overgrazing accelerates desertification. Disease vectors multiply. These effects are often attributed to climate alone, but predator removal is a silent driver. Africa's predators do not merely kill, they shape behavior. Prey species alter movement, reproduction, and habitat use in response to predation risk. This behavioral modification spreads influence far beyond direct kills. Snakes alter where rodents forage. Cats alter where herbivores graze. These changes protect vegetation, soil, and water systems indirectly. The absence of visible conflict between predators is essential to this process. Energy that would be wasted on confrontation is instead invested in regulation. Injury is avoided. Longevity increases. Experienced individuals pass successful strategies to the next generation through survival itself. This continuity preserves the system's intelligence. Africa's balance is not maintained by constant action. It is maintained by countless moments of restraint, by predators choosing not to engage, by prey choosing where not to move, by the land filtering behaviors that destabilize its structure. The most powerful forces in nature are rarely the loudest. They are the ones that operate continuously without drawing attention. Snakes exemplify this truth, but they do not act alone. Big cats, through visible but selective intervention, complete the system. Together, they form an architecture of invisible power that sustains one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. Africa endures not because its predators dominate everything they touch, but because they limit themselves to what they are designed to control. This limitation is not weakness. It is the source of stability. As the African light softens and movement slows, the land returns to its most honest state. Quiet, not empty, but balanced. The predators of this continent are often remembered for what they take, but their true legacy lies in what they allow to remain. Africa is not defined by endless conflict between its most powerful hunters. It is defined by restraint, by timing, by the discipline to act only when action serves survival. Big cats do not rule through constant presence. They appear, intervene, and vanish. Snakes do not rule through intimidation. They remain, regulate, and withdraw. Together, they reveal a truth that challenges how power is usually understood. Dominance does not require visibility. Control does not require noise. In Africa, the most effective predators are not those that fight the most, but those that understand when not to fight at all. Over millions of years, this land has refined a system where silence carries meaning, where stillness is not absence, but readiness, where movement is deliberate, not impulsive. The lion resting in shade. The leopard frozen in branches. The snake, unmoving beneath grass. Each represents a decision, a calculation, a refusal to waste energy on unnecessary risk. This restraint preserves life far beyond the predator itself. It stabilizes prey. It protects vegetation. It shapes water flow and soil structure. It allows complexity to endure. When humans look for dominance, they often look for spectacle, for conflict, for clear winners and losers. Africa offers a different lesson. The land does not belong to the strongest predator in a moment of confrontation. It belongs to the one who understands the land well enough to survive across time. Survival here is not about conquest. It is about alignment. Alignment with heat, with light, with prey behavior, with risk. Big cats and snakes did not evolve to challenge one another. They evolved to read the same land through different senses and to withdraw when overlap threatens stability. This mutual awareness, refined into instinct, is what keeps the system intact. As night settles and the unseen resumes its work, Africa continues, not through noise, but through balance. Through countless interactions that never escalate, through decisions never observed, through power expressed as restraint. In this land, silence is not weakness. Silence is mastery. And the true apex is not the predator that dominates the scene, but the one that understands exactly when to disappear.